Hello, today we're continuing our work with momentum by looking at something called impulse. But what is impulse? Well, it's basically just the change in momentum that an object experiences in a particular scenario. As momentum is a vector quantity, that means it's affected by direction. It's also worth pointing out that impulse is also affected by direction, so you do need to take account of the positive and negative direction when doing these calculations. So therefore, an example of that would be this. We've got a particle A, which has got a mass of 2 kilograms, so let's do a little diagram. So let's say it's got 2 kilograms, and it's got a velocity of 6 meters per second. I'm going to say that's in this direction, but I don't really know. As it's important to decide your positive direction when doing a lot of mechanics calculations, I'm going to notate that as well by doing this capital R and an arrow to indicate my positive direction. That's important because it now means if I'm trying to calculate the momentum of particle A, it would be 2, its mass, times by its velocity, which will be positive 6 because the velocity is going in the positive direction for the way I have defined things. So that's of course 12, but then we also have this impulse of 4 kilograms meters per second. So what that's telling you is we're going to have our original momentum, and then we've got a change of 4 in that momentum. But how are we going to deal with that change? Well, it all depends on the direction. If the momentum's going in the same direction as the velocity, as the velocity is in the positive direction, that means the change in momentum is also going in the positive direction, so I'm adding that change on. So therefore, doing that calculation means that we would then have a momentum of 12 plus 4, which is of course 16. That is, though, the momentum, and we want to work out the new velocity of the particle caused by this impulse. So therefore, we realise that, of course, momentum is equal to mass times velocity. This value of 16 is the new momentum the object has. So therefore, all I've got to do is do 16 divided by the mass of the object to work out its new velocity, which is therefore, in this scenario, 8 meters per second. But that was part A, where the impulse was going in the same direction as the velocity. If the impulse is going in the opposite direction to the velocity, the momentum originally would still be 2 times by 6. But then, as the impulse is now going in the opposite direction to the velocity, if the velocity is the positive direction, that means the momentum impulse is now the negative direction. So therefore, we've got to take away that value of 4 to highlight that different direction it's going in. If you calculate that, that of course will just be 8. But that is, again, not the velocity, which is what we've actually been asked for. So therefore, we've got to do the momentum, the new momentum anyway, divided by the mass to work out the new velocity. So therefore, the answer to B is 4 meters per second. So that's an example where you've been given the impulse and therefore you need to work out the impact that has on the particles in the scenario, but sometimes you need to do the reverse. You're given basically all the information about what happens to the particles, and therefore you need to calculate what impulse that is. So therefore, here's an example of that. Admittedly, most of this example is very similar to the conservation of momentum questions we were trying before. So the beginning bit is to do a before diagram. You read it, it says particle A has mass of 5 kilograms. So let's do a particle A, 5 kilograms. It's got a velocity 3 meters per second, but right now I don't know yet what direction that's in. It's traveling in the direction of another particle B. Okay, so now I'll be able to mark what direction the velocity is going in because I can put particle B and then I know the velocity of A is going towards B, and now I can mark on that 3 meters per second. Nice. Particle B has a mass of 9 kilograms, marking that on there. A and B collide, and after this collision, so then doing a diagram for that, so we're going to have A again, and A is traveling with a velocity of 1 meters per second in the opposite direction to what it was going in before. So now the velocity is that way. Cool. Right then, so that's what the diagram's doing. Again, I'm going to start by deciding my positive direction, which is this. And interestingly, you might be feeling a bit suspicious because they haven't actually really given us any information about what's happening to B. And that's because we don't really need to, because we can just focus on what's happening just to A for the moment. So before the impact, before the collision, we have that the momentum for A is going to be, of course, 5 times by positive 3, because I've said to the right is my positive direction, which is 15. Whereas after the collision, the momentum for A is now going to be 5 kilograms, now times by negative 1, because the velocity is now going in the opposite direction to the positive direction. So that comes out as minus 5. Now that minus symbol is very important because it means we've had a momentum that's gone from 15 to minus 5. So therefore the change in momentum, which is the impulse, is going to equal the new momentum, take away the old momentum, which means we've had basically a change in momentum of minus 20. So going from the old stuff to the new stuff, we've had to take away 20 is the other way of looking at it. So that's what our impulse calculation was, but interesting, when we're coming to answering part A now properly, it's asking for the magnitude of the impulse given by B to A. So the word magnitude just means the size, so therefore we don't actually care about that minus 20 because that minus sign is just telling us about the direction. So therefore actually the answer is just 20 kilogram meters per second. So there we go, that is the answer to part A. Now this time it did just ask for the magnitude, but if it did ask for the direction, what you would say is it's in basically the negative direction, but you wouldn't use those words. So you get to choose your own anchor point or reference point, if you will, to help you describe what direction it's going in. So something you could say is it's going in the opposite direction to the initial velocity of A, because we knew the initial velocity of A was going in the positive direction, so therefore the negative direction is opposite to that. So just some sort of reference point that you can describe to help explain what direction the impulse is going in if it was asking for that. Okay, so anyway, they asked for the magnitude, we gave the magnitude. But then moving on to part B, some of you might be a little confused as to how we're going to approach this question, because in some ways it seems very similar to what we've already been asked. We want the magnitude of the impulse, but the different part is that we want the impulse given by A to B rather than the impulse given by B to A. So that's basically in the reverse order to what we were looking at before. And also the concerning thing is that we haven't really been given any information about the velocities of B, either before or after the collision. However, the thing to bear in mind is that conservation of momentum explains what's going to happen in this scenario, because as we only have two particles in this scenario and any changes to the velocities and trajectories of these two objects is all caused by this collision that's going on, therefore any changes in momentum should be fully covered for the individual particles by the conservation of momentum. In other words, if one of the particles experiences a change in momentum, let's say for instance in this case its momentum is increasing by 20 kilograms meters per second, then because the overall momentum's got to stay the same between the two particles by conservation of momentum, that means the other particle has to have its momentum decreased by 20 kilograms meters per second to make sure that the same overall momentum is happening. So, therefore, that is what's going on here. In this case, A is losing 20 momentum in terms of kilograms meters per second, so therefore B has to be gaining that same amount. And as we're talking about magnitude, we don't care if it's gaining or decreasing, it's just what's the size of the change in momentum. So it's therefore just 20 kilograms meters per second as well, it's just that it's gaining it rather than losing it. In terms of direction, that's the other thing that would be changed if we were asked about that. So the impulse that A is giving to B is an impulse in the direction to the right, because of the fact that it would be technically a positive 20 as the impulse experienced by A was a negative 20. That's what we calculated, by the way. We were calculating specifically the impulse felt by A. So therefore, as that impulse was minus 20, the impulse for B is positive 20. Okay, sorry, that was probably too much explaining, but hopefully that's explained what's going on. But there is another way of looking at what impulse actually is, because there is another formula for it. And it is impulse is equal to force times by time, which is interesting because it does provide a different type of unit for impulse, which is, instead of always describing it as kilograms meters per second, because force is in newtons and time is in seconds, another unit of measurement for impulse is newton seconds. Those two things are technically the same because newtons is secretly kilograms meters per second squared, so the s to the minus 2 times by the s gets an s to the minus 1 on the end. The advantage of looking at impulse in this way is it means you can start to introduce external factors into what's going on with your particles. Instead of the momentums of the particles purely being decided by any collisions between those two particles, we can have extra things causing those momentums to change. So therefore, here is a scenario. So we've got a particle of mass 6 kilograms. So let's start drawing a diagram. So therefore, we've got particle P, 6 kilograms, and it's traveling at a constant rate of 2 meters per second. So they don't say what direction. Let's just say it's in that direction. Partway through its journey, it experiences a force of 9 newtons, which acts on it for 4 seconds in the same direction as the particle was traveling. So that means, as I've said, the 2 meters per second is going to the right. The force of 9 newtons has also got to go to the right. Cool, so therefore we've now got to calculate the new velocity of the particle. Well, therefore this is actually very similar to my example 1, it's just they haven't given us the impulse. We've got to calculate it ourselves based on the fact that the impulse is going to equal the force of 9 newtons multiplied by the time of 4 seconds. So therefore we've got an impulse of 36 newton seconds if I'm using this new unit of measurement. It doesn't matter which one you use for any question. So therefore 36 newton seconds is our impulse. So therefore, just like in example 1, we can now calculate the new velocity by first calculating the new momentum, because the old original momentum before that impulse would have been 6 times by positive 2. If I make right my positive direction again. So therefore we've got a momentum of 12, but then we've got this impulse of 36, so it's going to be the old momentum plus this new impulse. The impulse is in the positive direction, so that's why I've added it on, and so therefore that gets me a new momentum of 48. But then therefore the new velocity is going to be the new momentum divided by the mass. So therefore 48 divided by 6, and that is 8. So it's 8 meters per second is the new velocity, and that is the answer to part A. So, part B, later on a constant force of 10 newtons acts against the particle in the opposite direction to motion. So that means we know it's now travelling at 8 meters per second to the right by the end of part A. But now we're going to have a force of 10 newtons acting in the opposite direction to that. And it's acting against the object until it brings the object to rest. So what does that mean? Well, it means we know going into part B, it had a momentum of 48. We already calculated that earlier, but you could recalculate it if you wanted to. So positive direction still being taken as right, it's going to be 6 times by 8. If the particle is going to come to rest, that means its momentum will be 0. So therefore, the impulse we're doing is going to be an impulse of minus 48, because it's going from 48 to 0 by the time it's come to rest, and so therefore that's a difference of minus 48 to get from 48 to 0. Cool. And then we are therefore having to calculate what that is as a force for a particular time. So we know what the force is. The force is minus 10 newtons because it's going in our negative direction as well, and therefore we know this is being multiplied by an unknown time to cause this to happen. So therefore this is a very easy equation to solve. We're just going to do minus 48 divided by minus 10, which of course is just 4.8 seconds, remembering our units of measurement there. Cool, so that's how you can use force times by time to also work out impulse. Nice! That will do us for today's video. I hope you found it useful. See you in a future mechanics video, or maybe something else. I don't know. Goodbye!